A very good evening to Globespan 24/7 viewers as we continue our Monday night program here from New York, in Guyana, and around the world. We want to thank Nohar Singh for making this platform available, and of course, to Devin Bisu, our technical specialist. We want to thank our sponsors for their continued support as we bring information to the public on matters affecting Guyana. We want to thank you, our viewers, for joining us tonight, and for those who will be watching it after the program, we want to thank you again in advance. Tonight, we have no stranger to us. A gentleman who has been in the body politics from the PPP days of Cherry Jagan. He grew up in the PYO and then became a member of parliament after the 92 elections under the PPP, and then he left to form the Alliance for Change. Today, as we speak, he has been re-elected leader of the AFC. So, Mr. Kamrat Ramjatan, welcome to the program tonight.
Thank you very much, Charles. I'm glad to be on the program again, and with, of course, Dr. Euclid Rose, my countryman, meaning from quarantine. I just want to make a little slight correction. I didn't leave the PPP. The PPP expelled me, especially Jagdeo and his kangaroo court. And of course, I fought like hell to get him back, and he made sure that I did not get him back. So just to clarify that, I was expelled in 2004.
Okay. Well, thanks for that correction. And of course, with me, my co-host, Dr. Rose. Dr. Rose, welcome.
Thank you, Charles, and welcome, Mr. Ramjatan, leader of the AFC, Alliance for Change, the only multiracial party in Guyana.
Well, that's a good compliment to start with. Mr. Ramjatan, as I mentioned earlier, you were recently re-elected the leader of the AFC. What is the structure now of the AFC? Who holds what position?
Well, the leader position is held by me. The chairperson's position is held by Kathy Hughes. The vice chair is held by Ricky Ramsaroop. The general secretary by Sharad Duncan, and an appointed position, deputy general secretary, is held by Juretta Finance. That was an appointed position. We have 12 other duly elected members. They include, of course, Raphael Trotman, David Patterson, Beverly Alert, and a number of other leading members, and some youngsters that came in who were duly elected. Ours is a duly elected 16-man committee, 12, and the 4 top leaders, leader, general secretary, vice chair, and chair. Our treasurer, duly appointed under the constitution of the AFC, is Mr. Ron Alert from the diaspora. He has an ACCA, has been a big member in the USA chapter, as you know. I think both of you know him. And he, at the last NEC meeting, we had him being selected as the treasurer of the party. So the 16 of us that were duly elected, along with certain other co-opted members, but we are now getting the permission from the co-opted members. We had proposed some names, and so we will have a further 12 from the various regions, and also on grounds of what we call to bring parity in relation to youths and so on. Sometimes the duly elected members are all, pretty old people, and so we co-opt some youngsters from the Youth for Change, and they then become members in the what you call national executive. So that process is ongoing. Our chairperson, Kathy Hughes, is handling that, and we will soon come out in a couple of days once those members who we have proposed indicate yes, we would love to serve for the next 2 years, and we will have a complete framework of national executive members, all of whom would have said yes we affirm that we will become co-opted members.
Now, you know, party waned after some time. When the AFC started, as Dr. Rose mentioned at the beginning, it was seen as the only multi-ethnic party, and people had tremendous hope in the AFC. When you started, I believe it was 2005, 2006.
That's correct.
When it was formed. Over the years, you have had very great support from the Guyanese population. That began to, dissipate after you became part of the coalition. Before I ask you what went wrong, how effective was the AFC in your view in the coalition government?
Well, we were extraordinarily effective. We punched lots more than our weight, and as a matter of fact, I think it had some jealousies as a result of that. We had approximately 7 members who were in the cabinet. I was a vice president. Mr. Nagamutu was, of course, prime minister and first vice president. Kathy Hughes, Dominic Gaskin, Raphael Trotman in the natural resources and in infrastructure, David Patterson. We also had a junior minister of Amerindian Affairs, Valerie, and so on. And we did a whole lot of good things for this country. At the national conference, I mentioned 2 great decisions that we made, which generations to come will see it in that context. First of all, right-sizing sugar, which has become a black hole, even now in the present government, and also signing that production agreement, oil and gas production agreement with Exxon, which has made Guyana, as I have been saying around the place, the honeypot. It had imperfections. We were very green in relation to these major companies, extraordinarily powerful companies. But it was indeed a good agreement, we felt. And today we got $607 million. This year we will get another $1 billion because of the high oil prices, over 100 US dollars. And so generations to come will agree. As I have said in another program, Charles, that these are what, in a sense, the AFC by their ministerial portfolio brought. I remember President Granger indicating to me that I should chair the committee in relation to the sugar decisions. Noel Holder was the Minister of Agriculture. He was doing a lot of the analyses and so on, but selling it politically, I was the person. And myself and David Patterson, if I may mention. And of course, we know how much David did in relation to infrastructure works, how in business and the Small Enterprise Bureau and this and that Dominic Gaskin did. And then, of course, after the dual citizenship ruling, Hemraj became the minister. So it was fantastic. And no third party that, had just come out of a scene where by itself it only won 7 seats, now got 12 seats with 7 ministerial portfolios. And, we made very good decisions. Of course, things didn't work out the way we thought it would have. And a lot of promises were made by the PPP that we were wrong about sugar. We were wrong about the production agreement. And of course, they are there today. We're not seeing anything being bettered by them. But because of the fooling of the populace, in my view, we lost and we are in opposition. But of course, that's the democracy. Things will happen and you will have to give way, and then you can come the next time stronger. And in view of all that is happening right now with Sioux Gate and all of that, we feel that we are doing well. We came out of a national conference very, very successful. A lot of people don't understand the Alliance for Change. I know that 2 of you knew and know about the Alliance for Change because you were members or at least supporters of it. And it is very difficult in a country like Guyana to maintain the attributes of a party. One very big attribute is to have elected officials. One big attribute is also to have your national conferences. You have other small parties that are saying a lot, but I don't know if they have membership that are broad-based, like how we have it, just like how the PPP has it and the APNU has it. And so it requires a lot of money. It requires a lot of life to be put in and effort to be put in. It is not easy. And then at any stage, being very liberal democratic, unlike what I regard as the centralized politics of the APNU and the PPP, you can have a lot of people criticizing Comrade Ramjatan, criticizing David Patterson and Cathy Hughes. And we have to remain silent because the constitutional principle that we govern by is liberal democratic politics. And so an ordinary member can be very, very forceful and critical of us. And we can't do anything about it. And I'm glad about that. I came from a party, the PPP, that had literally cut off your neck, literally. And of course, you know the history of that, what Jack Dale did. He didn't like rivalries around the place. So he got rid of me first. Then he got rid of Ralph Ramkaran. Then he got rid of Moses Nagamutu, who then came across into the AFC and became its prime ministerial candidate in 2015. But the AFC's life goes on. We have districts all across the country. We have the 10 regions, and our membership is growing, especially in view of this very successful national conference. I am glad that some of the political columnists have given us some good kudos. I see Mr. GHK Lal saying that it was a wonderful thing that we did what we did and so successfully. And of course, I must tell you this too, finally, on this issue, that the diaspora, you in the diaspora, have been of tremendous help, especially with funding of this party to ensure that it carries through its life. We have to spend probably more than $1 million a month, literally, to do the necessaries. Some months you spend a little less, at an average probably about $500,000 to just run the basic minimum of this political party. And we have been getting the support from so many players, especially the USA chapter, and of course the chapter from the Caribbean.
Mr. Ramjatan, there's a big gap in terms of what you said and what is actually happening, in that you are very positive that the AFC ministers did a great job, and we get into the oil contract later on in the program. But the man in the street, the Guyanese who supported the AFC, didn't see it that way. And you will recall when they had a local government election, you were in government then, and you really didn't get a lot of votes in that election. So how is it that you saying that the ministers and the AFC did a great job, but the people who were supposed to be your supporters abandoned the party?
Well, you would have that at a local government election, and local government elections is not what you call a good barometer, and especially after a kind of a scenario whereby at a very last moment we were told that, you know, we are not going to go together, that is with APNU. And so we were, you know, left strewn on the ground, as it were, and we didn't get ourselves organized. But that by itself is no measure, because if you were to check what PPP did in relation to votes, it was almost half the votes they got, half of what they got at the general elections. Same thing with the PNC and APNU. And of course, we didn't do well, that is true. But local government elections is never generally a barometer. And it is up to us politicians to make up our opinions as to how we feel we did. And as you asked me the question, I think we did very well. As a matter of fact, when you go back to the national elections of 2020, and notwithstanding the ugly recount factual matrix that came up with a whole set of things, let us take it as declared by the chairman of the Elections Commission. We in the Alliance for Change and APNU did far better than we did in 2015, winning approximately 20,000 more votes. Of course, on the same breath, one can say that the PPP did better. And as I said, the PPP, you know, indicated that the sugar decision that we made was a bad one, and told the sugar workers, and they were flaking back into the PPP as a result of that decision. But today, the PPP is not keeping its promises in relation to the sugar industry. And it has put Sis Narayan there, who all now just dropping the targets for every estate. We had said that we have to deal truthfully with that sector. We dealt truthfully with it, and we knew that it was going to be unpopular. But when you are in a government, 5 years, you are there to make the best decisions for the country. And if indeed right sizing was the best decision that we came up with, well, so be it. And that is what we did. They said that they're going to do all kinds of things to the sugar industry. They cannot. Because, of course, this next generation do not want to cut cane.
All right.
And
but as you know, we had SACE on this program, and SACE rightly said, and I was there doing an audit with Kaisuko, that SACE, when he went there, it was like Sanford and Sons. You know, it was all derelict, garbage, machines that were not performing. So you're giving the man a basket to fetch water, and, you know, the fields were not prepared for cultivation and so on. So you really can't blame SACE for 1.5 years for turning an industry down that was really dilapidated for many, many, many years. But having said that, there's a lot of report also, Mr. Ramjatan, that I know you mentioned that Mr. Jagdeo, Vice President Jagdeo, dismissed you and Moses and so on. But the reception we're getting from the public is that maybe Jagdeo did a good thing, because when you guys in government, you failed miserable. Even though you're saying you guys did a good job, the people think that you didn't do a good job as minister and as prime minister for Moses Nagamoto and so on. So in their view, they think Jagdeo did a good job to get rid of you guys because you were not, as you said you were. I mean, I'm not supporting either side, but I'm saying what the people are saying, the information we're getting.
The voices of the people will bring finality to it. And quite frankly, we are out of government. That's fine. But the proper analysis could be done. When you tell people that we are going to bring back sugar, that sugar got a future, and all manner of things, when you had it for 23 years, and you literally declined it to the extent that we were now forced to make the decision on it. And then you say, well, you're going to bring it back, and you fool people. That is why we are saying that this politics is very fluid, and that at a certain other point, the people now will realize, especially the cane cutters, that this was all a lie that Jagdeo put to us. And, you know, this can then mean at another elections, they can then be corrected again. Remember, when we were in opposition in 2011, coming down to 2015, and we put up what we will do for the sake of the country, we indicated that these are the things that we're going to do, and the hard decisions must be made, even if it will sound harsh. And we did that. You do not just go politically to go and tell people all kinds of things in your 5-year term. You have to make the harsh decisions, whether it is unpopular and it could cause you in elections. Is it the right thing for Guyana? And if you lose an election, well, too bad. But you come back again, because that is the democracy that you have in America, which we strive for. And that is why we feel that, you know, we are doing very well. The decisions that we made, which were very, as you were saying, unpopular, and the people feel that they should get rid of us, will come back to haunt the same PPP. And there is where we're going to take it. And after a while, it will settle down. People are going to say, well, you know, look at the circumstances. We don't want to go spend money and so much money into an industry that is a black hole. You're selling for 13 cents and you're producing for 30 cents. And don't bother with the reasoning of Sis Narayan. Sis knew that these are the things that will bother that industry. Bad flooding, bad climate change, and all of that. And there isn't mechanization. People don't want to go to work. Gaud itself is saying, Sis, get out the place. So just, you know, let's be balanced here. We are out of it, but you got it now. Let's see what you're going to do with it. And don't fool the sugar workers. That is what they're going about, fooling the sugar workers, talking about the link of the chain being weak and all of that and all of that. No, it is the analysis that we did that says you got to right size that thing. Don't waste money. Go put your money in other places. Build more schools and hospitals and education institutions and so on.
Dr. Rose?
Yes, Mr. Ramjatan. And folks, you're listening to the only network that is fair and balanced. And we are always fair and balanced. Mr. Ramjatan, you have been a politician for at least 3 decades now. But you were suspended or kicked out from the PPP, as mentioned by my colleague Charles before. Why? And if the PPP invites you back in, would you go?
Absolutely not. I mean, I tried my best after being expelled. Bharat Jagdeo had said that, you know, if you can give me 7,000 signatures from the various constituencies, I gave him 14,000. And because you're popular, he said, no, all of this is fiction. Don't bother with it. And he threw it away. In the presence of Do Not Sing, who was there to tell him that you have to do that again. And after he did what he did, and I realized, of course, I then went to New York, and that famous restaurant there declared that we will start a party, and we got lots of support. I remember the big support we got from people like Sanko, my cousin Prabhash, and Dr. Somar thereafter, and even you two guys. It was just fantastic. And then we came back and launched, and it was amazing what we did. But I am not going to go back into the PPP, and certainly not with Jagdeo there. How are you going to ever dream of that happening? That fella is a mini Putin.
You have been elected leader of the AFC a number of times. I think this is the 3rd or 4th time you've been elected leader. What does the future of the party, what does the future hold for the party, and what is your vision for the AFC?
Well, the future that the party holds will depend largely on the effort we put into it. We have a lot of investment to make with our younger leaders. As I spoke to them on the national conference, I made a statement that good readers will make better leaders. I find that a lot of our younger people sometimes live in this Twitter world where just 3 or 4 sentences and they feel that they understand the subject matter. So we have to do lots more in education. Even at the ground level, we have to go on far more frequent outreaches and meeting the people, whether it's in the hinterland, whether it is in quarantine. And quarantine is very important because there's the bastion of the PPP's vote and Essequibo and so on. And I believe that especially people like myself and Ricky and others of East Indian community in the leadership must go to these communities and show, you know, because what the PPP does is to say that the AFC is not a multiracial party. It is a party that is led by non-East Indians, and Kamraj is just a puppet and all of that. But so what we do, and we have a lot of East Indian leaders in the party that will now go there and talk to them. And when they see that, the optics and all help. So it is important that we carry the language of the day, the topical issues. We also do better with the education of our younger brass and the leadership. And of course, at a parliamentary level, because we have 9 parliamentarians, make sure that their argumentation and debates are of high quality. The other thing is that we have to ensure that they live the very examined life. They must come out in, you know, programs like these and argue the case for what it is required. And to that extent, then, my vision is to maintain that the Alliance for Change remain as a bridge for the 2 more ethnic-oriented political parties, the PPP and the APNU. In the speech that I made, and by the way, I will have to circulate that now, it is that third parties like the AFC must ensure that they are the bridge in a ethnicized polity like in Guyana, to talk to the PPP and to talk to the APNU, and to have independent positions, some of which will be against the PPP, some of which will sometimes clash with the APNU, and to hold forth in relation to that. We have done a tremendous job in maintaining a balance. Some say that we have been subsumed by the APNU. That is not true. a lot of the big decisions that were made during that 5 years. And I must praise David Arthur Granger, president then, for allowing us. He didn't micromanage like what Jack Dale does. He is there, here, everywhere, like in a football field, left back, right back, goalkeeper, even the referee. No, Granger allowed me to do my thing with the sugar, myself and Noel, as I said. Allowed the infrastructural works to be carried out by David Patterson. Allowed in the production agreement to be argued for by people like Raphael Trotman. And so a lot of people think that that was subsuming. It was not. And we will see the greatness of those decisions. So that's my vision. And of course, it is to ensure that we do lots more fundraising activities to get the money, and to ask the international players to ensure that we get the scholarships for some of the very bright students that are now AFC members coming out of the University of Guyana. Just like how the PPP and the PNC did it. That is what we'll have to do. And of course, continue to talk about principles, healing and reconciliation for this country, and equitable distribution of the revenue stream that will come on as a result of the signing on to that oil agreement. And of course, debating well that which we must carry on after doing major research on policy and programs in the best interest of the common good.
What is your relationship like with Mr. Norton?
Say that again.
What is your relationship like with Mr. Norton?
With this very close relationship I have with Mr. Norton. And by the way, a very close relationship too with Irfan Ali.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Would the AFC remain in the coalition under the leadership of Aubrey Norton? If so, would you demand a stronger input in decision making?
The decision as to whether we remain was in a sense decided at this national conference. We have the way forward document here that was given to every member or delegate in our conference, and we had about 230 delegates and observers at the conference. In this document, what we did about 8 months ago was to argue the case at a national executive meeting. What are the pros and cons and what we should do? And there are about 30 members of that national conference, very frank debate, decided on 3 options because we didn't put it to a vote. We got 3 options. 1, to stay as is with the Cummingsburg Accord being the terms of reference. Another, to exit immediately at this national conference that was held a week ago, and or to allow the Cummingsburg Accord to come to an end by effluxion of time. Now, you may not know this, but by effluxion of time, it is the 31st of December this year that the Cummingsburg Accord comes to an end. And then we maintain our independence, go hit the ground running, have good relationship with the APNU, have good relationship with the PPP, criticize them whenever we have to and whatever, but maintain an independent position. And if it comes to that, whenever that is ready, another what you call accord more closely to an elections time. But that will depend on another national conference to make that decision. It will not be the decision of Ramjatan. I'll tell you, I love coalition politics now having entered it. But they got a lot of people who feel that we should maintain our independence and let there be a 3-party that is going to run just like we did in 2006, 2011, and so on. So the decisions of this party will then remain. So effectively then, we are in a Cummingsburg Accord period at this time until the 31st of December 2022. After that, as the party has now decided, we go separate to the extent of having an AFC doing its work all across the country separately. And then whenever that time comes, we can then make the decision, and that decision will be made at a national conference, just like we had. Our next national conference is due sometime in the end of 2024, beginning of 2025.
Sharon Das was a member of the AFC, and he voted against the coalition government that led to the no confidence motion. How you did not see that coming?
Because we just did not see it. You can't go into the mind of Sharon Das, just like Jesus could not have gone into the mind of Judas. I couldn't see it. And we tried everything to ask them to be honorable with us. In that day of the no confidence vote, Amna Ali called us all inside of a meeting in the committee room 1 and asked us, how will we vote? And as chief whip, she said that this is going to bring down our government. And all of us said, no, 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 no. Sharon Das no was the loudest. And you know, that man went in there. And you know, I made an utterance somewhere that he is a Judas. And he has sued me for that. And the matter is right now before the court. I don't want to get into the merits. But when he was cross-examined by Mr. Roysdale Ford, senior counsel, you know what was his explanation as to why he voted no before the judge, Justice Barlow? Is that he heard the arguments of Bharat Jagdeo. And Bharat Jagdeo influenced him. So he was all the time going to vote no until that moment when he then decided that, you know, I am satisfied now. That was not what he was saying inside of the mandirs in Canada and all over the place. That man went into the court of law in Guyana in a libel action against me and said that he was so impressed with Jagdeo. Jagdeo, by the way, was the man that moved the motion for the no confidence motion. So they got a lot more skullduggery in that thing. You know, Jagdeo went easy. Look what Jagdeo gone and get middleman to get investors from China to come. Jagdeo went easy. Jagdeo knocked out 3 of the most solid members of the PPP. Ralph Ramkaran, Moses Nagamutu, and Kemraj Ramjatan. It ain't easy with that fella. So understand that there might have been a lot of more than the mortar in the pestle.
Did the coalition government lose the election?
It is my opinion that the elections have left a lot of uncertainties personally with me. That recount proved a lot of nonsense happened. And yes, at this stage, at the interim stage, the declarer, Claudette Singh, ruling as she did, yes, we lost the elections. I believe, however, that there was so much troubles, ugliness about it, that a court of law could still invalidate it and ask for early elections on the grounds of the happenstances at the recount, what were found and discovered there. And I'm willing at this stage to wait on the court's ruling. If we lose, well, we lose. We wait until 2025, whenever the PVP calls in elections.
What rating will you give to President Granger as president for 5 years on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest?
I would give him some good marks. 7.5 out of the 10. There were times because of his illness and so on, he really could not have performed, he being in Cuba. But I gave him those high marks, you know, because of the fact he did not micromanage. He believed in his team and he allowed his team. And in any team, you're going to have mistakes being made. But David Granger allowed us to do, after hearing the arguments, because of course at cabinet, you had to go back and argue your case. And he would say, well, fine, go right ahead. Do the smart city proposal. Ask the IDB for more funding for security arrangements in the police force. I remember getting all the support that I could from him. And he was very good at security. So you had to measure up. And lots of the things that brought back the professionalism in the police force, I today see all being destroyed. The very many security sector recommendations coming from Russell Coombe, that man from England, who had given us about £3 million to do all of these studies, all have been shelved. And that is why the crime rate has gone back right up.
So you'll give President Granger 7.5. On the same question, what rating would you give to Mr. Norton being there for the past 7 months?
I'll give him similar. They got lots of other things that I would like to see done. But he's just there for a short while. David was
what's similar? 7?
Yeah, I will give him 7.5. We get along fine. I think he has made the right decisions up to now, has called the right shots in relation to opposition leader, and I give him high marks. I don't give people 9 and 10. I come very close to that, but people are all imperfect, and they suffer mistakes and so on, make mea culpas. So you don't get 9 or 10 from Ramjatan.
Don't be a professor because students will hate you.
Yeah, so that's right.
Now, on the same page or the same trend of thought, what rating would you give President Ali and the PP government since taking office 2 years ago?
I would give Ali lots less than 7.5, boss, because he has allowed Jagdeo to take it away from him. You could not take it away from David Granger. We allowed you. This Ali, and I am close to him. I have even spoken to him in very minuscule arguments when we momentarily meet at the occasions that we meet, like the ambassador's house and so on. And I tell him, well, why are you allowing this fella to run a third term under your tenureship? Jagdeo is there with everything, all the investors. Look what Sugate told us. Went to give the gas to shore. It's his decision, everything. And as soon as the man gone overseas, like he gone to the Commonwealth heads of government, he then takes charge. I want to say this, and just give me a little time here, about 1 minute. When we had put up that constitutional provision that you serve 2 terms and no more, we extracted it out from your American Constitution. And it meant that 2 terms and you go and you pasture after that. You don't come back as an advisor or as a vice president. And all the constitutional norms, which we call conventions, that surround that written provision is applied in America. Barack Obama or Bill Clinton can't come and say, we are going to be now vice president to Biden. You come off the scene. It was 2 terms and go. But Jagdeo, first of all, allowed a man named Richardson to carry the matter right up to the CCJ, which ruled that term limits are constitutional. He had argued the case in a vicarious way for Jagdeo that this thing is illegal and unconstitutional. But even when the court ruled that way, and you thought that he would have gone and pasture, gone and write some book or do some other things at Freedom House, the man comes straight in the middle of your government and literally running it. And the people, especially the president, not telling him, hey, you remember what you had told Janet Jagan when Janet wanted to tell you how to run the country? You told Janet, you're a private citizen. I am the president now. Please, Irfan, tell Jagdeo, you're a private citizen now. Let me and Frank and Anil and Vindi and so on carry on with the government. But no, he goes on and he literally makes minuscule, de minimis, the efforts of the president. I have seen him shout down the president, literally, when he said that we are not going to have a commission of inquiry. And the president said, well, hold on a minute. And I understand that inside cabinet room and all of that, this thing goes on. He plays the autocrat. And he believes that, because a lot of people literally worships him in the PPP. They say how he got encyclopedic knowledge of almost everything. That's bull. I was there with him. Not as bright as they say that he is. And he loves to knock out people that will do positive rivalries with him. And that is why I always say he's a banyan tree. Nothing grows underneath him. And that is what, and then he gets this political clout that is now going to tell people, Sue, get a house next to him there, come across, and we're going to talk. You're going to look after agreements, and I'm going to look after the government side. The thing is, stinks to high heavens. And the president of this country does nothing. And for that, I take away about 3 points from him.
So you'll give him a 7.
Barely pass.
A barely pass.
Or even not a pass and all.
Okay. Charles, over to you.
Mr. Ramjitan, we'll take a short commercial break. And when we come back, we'll continue the discussion. A great discussion. Our audience will be back shortly.
Travelspan has some very cheap fares for July and August to and from Guyana. Seats are limited, but call Travelspan today for these discounted low fares in July and August. In New York, call 718-845-0437. That's 718-845-0437. In Georgetown, call 227-1701. That's 227-1701. And in Berbice, call 337-4287. That's 337-4287. For discounted airfares to and from Guyana, call Travelspan today.
Are you missing homemade food, snacks, drinks, roti and curries, or have a busy schedule? Then get your favorite curries and roti delivered directly to your home with all from one supplier. Come order your duck, goat, or chicken, fully cooked and ready to eat with dal puri or bus up shut. We also now have chicken tikka masala or lamb vindaloo available with regular naan or garlic naan. Don't forget to add your solo, icy, coconut water, or Nestle drinks to these delicious meals. Select your choice, and load your box and let allfromonesupplier.com deliver directly to your home. All From One Supplier has you covered for all your food. Plus if you need pepper sauce, curry powders, fish, meat, ghee, and so much more. We also have tasty pastries like pine tarts, cheese rolls, currants rolls, coconut rolls and so much more. Sales are ongoing every week, and your first order is 10% off once you apply the coupon code, Globespan24x7. Log on to allfromonesupplier.com today and purchase. Allfromonesupplier.com is your one-stop shop for all West Indian items, and remember it's free shipping to all US states.
Oman! Hey, Oman!
Oi!
Come that girl, I feel like I see Raymond Ramnarine across the road somewhere there.
Raymond who?
Raymond Ramnarine, they sing a girl Ramnarine, how you pretend so?
The 2022 Travelspan Curry Duck Curry Cooking Competition is in Cancun on July 28th to August 1st. Who is going? The duck and the curry going for sure, plus Raymond Ramnarine, Terry G, young upcoming dancer and singer Ariana, Randy Reckless and the Reckless Tassa Group. The competition for the best tasting duck is in Cancun for 2022. Friends and families, make this a reunion. Flights available from New York, Florida, Atlanta, Texas, Trinidad, Guyana, Canada, or any U.S. states. For more info, call Travelspan at 212-243-0865. In Canada, call 647-557-6200. In Trinidad, call Amerals at 645-1604. And in Guyana, 227-1701, or visit us at travelspan.com.
Welcome back to our audience as we discuss with the political leader of the AFC, Mr. Kemra Ramjitan, coalition politics, the political and economic situation in Guyana, and the future of the AFC. Mr. Ramjitan, I know if you don't mind, please, if you can cut your answer a bit short because we need to cover quite a bit and we don't have much time. Let's talk about sugar quickly. When you said President Granger gave you and David Patterson the responsibility to get the estates to be closed to work it out. Two things. One, why wasn't the sugar workers paid their severance pay when it was closed? And two, what program you had for employment for those sugar workers who would have been fired?
We had the Alternative Livelihoods program where we were going to give, as we did in Wales Estate, 10-acre plots for people to plant farms or to go into fishery. We wanted to get Gaisuko equipment to dig up some fish farms and so on for them. It's the same thing that we had planned to do in relation to Kanji. The question as to what else we had.
No, why wasn't that implemented? Why wasn't the workers?
It was implemented. It was started. The implementation had started. the implementation phase of Wales Estate in relation to alternative livelihoods. I remember myself, Noel, Kathy, and so on, going to that Wales school and speaking about three meetings we had up at the Wales area there, because Wales Estate was in very bad shape. It was derelict even right up to 2015. The thing was in very bad shape. So we told those people, and they were supportive of it, because quite frankly, they said that the Wales sugar factory was not producing at any cost that will make it profitable. And
no, we understand that. Quickly, if you don't mind, how many sugar workers got this 10-acre land that you talk about?
There were about 300 or 400 at the Wales Estate area. I
actually got
I
title.
can't recall all the amounts that they got, but a number of the families there in that area that we could have done it, we did it. And a number of them said that they're going to go and work at IFLOT. So we said, well, fine, if you would continue to work at IFLOT. The other aspect of the question was that at the time when we did what we did in relation to severance, we had indicated that under the law that you're going to be paid that year, your severance payments. What the GAU really pressured us and said that they wanted the severance pay immediately. When we asked for that money, Gaisuko didn't even have money for it, and so on. So we paid in November and December that payment. Of course, we had to go back to Parliament for a financial paper of some billions of dollars to do that, because we did not do it for the budget. But now that we had made the decision, we knew that we had to go for a supplementary appropriation paper. And we told them it will take some time, because you are waiting also for taxpayers to pay up their money so that we can get. Winston Jordan was always a balanced budget man. He said, if we can get the money at this time, where we going to get it from? Just give me an opportunity, and later down the year and so on, we're going to get the money. And then we got it and we paid them.
Yeah, but that was only done, Mr. Ramjitan, after the court ruled that they must be paid, because the government was dragging their feet.
No. We did not have the money. Please understand that.
No, but
and yes, when they carried it to the court, we felt that fine, the court will take some time before it ruled to, and we utilized that as a breathing space. But we paid them. We paid them.
Yeah, but that was not good planning. If you're saying that was the plan, if you know the worker is going to go off in a year from now, at least that financial situation should have also been part of the equation. Apparently, it didn't happen, but that's what under the bridge.
But please, Charles, listen to me. The Diamond Estate was closed under the PPP, and they took 3 years to give the people the severance pay. I was a lawyer for some of them. But people don't understand that. 3 years it took the diamond sugar workers to get their severance pay. Ask GAU. Plenty of these sugar workers didn't bother with GAU. They come to me and Raphael Trotman. But you don't remember that?
That should have come up during this time, but apparently now you bring it up. Nobody seems to.
Please, the trouble is that sometimes all these arguments don't come to our heads immediately. But the history of the industry is like that. In Trinidad, when they closed the industry, it took about 4 years for them to get all their severance payment.
Okay. Before I get into the contract with the oil and gas, the Prime Minister had Prime Minister representative all over the country. You had one in Linden, you had in Region 3, I think Region 2, you had representative Region 6, Region 5, and so on, the Prime Minister representative.
Yeah.
There was a lot of animosity between you and the Prime Minister and Harbhajan and Berbice. Why was there animosity?
I am not aware of any animosity with me and Harbhajan. I remember one time we had a disagreement. He was saying that people got to remove their paddy from the road, and as public security minister, it will cause accidents and a whole set of things. And I just stamped my authority and I said, please, rice farmers ain't got a place to dry their paddy, and the road will be used. It is a tradition, but we're going to try to wheedle ourselves of it. And after that, I don't know of any arguments that I ever had with Govind Harbhajan. I just said that I am the minister. I'm going to tell the policemen to have at least discretion in relation to the drying of paddies. What we have to do, and I remember speaking to the president about this, is to build dryers and ask especially the RPA, who we wanted to fund to have dryers on pieces of land that could be made available by rice farmers, so they could dry their paddy in dryers rather than use the road. But we were, of course, saying that when we get better income streams, and that was all these are considerations caused us to sign on to that oil agreement, that when we're going to have a better day. And
is Mr. Harbhajan
I
part of
don't
the
know
AFC?
about any other thing that we had with Harbhajan.
Is he still part of the AFC or he's not part of the AFC?
I don't think, I think he still associates with remarks about the AFC and so on, but as to whether his membership is in order, I didn't see him at the national conference either. So he probably might have pulled out. But on the chat lines, I noticed that he makes some comments about the AFC all the time. Some of it glowing, some of it not so glowing.
Let's talk about the oil contract. Do you think Raphael Trotman signed a good contract?
I think so. He did sign a very good contract. And in the context of the times that we were in, I think all the better in view of the fact that we had other considerations than merely the economic ones. Remember, at the time when that happened, what the fellow named from Venezuela, the President Maduro, Maduro drew a demarcation line stating that all that maritime sea, Stabroek Block and all the quarantine block and everything belongs to Venezuela. We needed a partner that would be close to America to teach the Venezuelans that you just can't go and take away our boats. One was the Perdan, MV Perdan. They took it away from that area and we could do nothing. What we needed was to say, well, fine, you can't go and touch ExxonMobil because Uncle Sam going to come on your backside immediately. As a matter of fact, they might probably want to use that to go back into Venezuela to get back all their oil reserves, and the Exxon had some huge investments in Venezuela. So there was an invaluable consideration in relation to the geopolitics of it that played on my mind as security minister. There was also the anti-fossil movement that was saying by 2025 we must do away with all fossil fuels because climate change is here on us, and the United Nations Climate Change Committee was saying we got to deal with this thing by 2030. So what we do? We left the oil there and miss and doom ourselves to poverty and impoverishment? Or do we go knowing very well that we can have at least many millions, hundreds and billions of US dollars as per the arrangement? Because when the people came to the cabinet and they told us about it and we questioned them for long hours, we realized that this was a good deal. And so we decided. We just was not getting any revenues from sugar and so on. And there it is, you're being squeezed for a revenue stream. And then this God bless news that we have oil. And now people saying that it is a rotten deal. Well, you know, people could say that all the time.
Mr. Ramjatan, but your argument is defeating itself, because if Exxon is powerful to take on Venezuela, do you have to give Exxon everything? Because based on this contract, hold on, based on this contract, they're taking 75% of the revenue to recover their costs. There's no ring fencing. There is no proper insurance in place as we speak today if there's an oil spill. There's absolutely nothing that guarantees that Guyana will not bear the brunt of the spill, even after the oil exploration is done. If the wells are leaked, Guyana is still responsible. What happened then? So we have signed an agreement that you said we'll get up billions of dollars, but if there's an oil spill, the one that hasn't, the one in the Gulf, costs over $60 billion to clean up. So we are talking about a pittance in revenue, but we have a huge liability here that we don't know who will cover it. Is that you're an attorney? Will you enter a contract like that for your own purpose?
I entered it, boss, and I am proud that I have done it. Because if, like naysayers, like you are giving me the impression you are, whenever you enter into any agreement, you want to buy a car, the car could explode suddenly. What happened? I am going to buy the car? You are dealing with the best oil company in the world. And yes, indeed, there have been oil spills. But if that is how you're going to deal with a contract to bring in a revenue stream that is so vital for this country, that has made it today the honeypot of the entire America, we're going to utilize that. I am certain that if we did not sign that agreement and the oil was left in the ground, people like yourself would say, well, what the hell y'all did not sign up that oil agreement? These are powerful players. We are not as powerful as them. And if we now got to go down, please, if we now got to go down to check off all of these things, we were told that indeed they are going to get the insurance. And when we spoke to Vince Adams said that yes, we are going to ensure that there is unlimited liability. And they had signed on to that. Today, Jagdeo gone and tell the people it's only $6 billion. And it is not unlimited. A variation. That motion we have in Parliament to prove that we had unlimited by their agreement. And they're not bringing up the motion. David Patterson is going to speak on it as our head speaker. But
yeah, well, Mr. Amsterdam, quickly, if you don't mind, Suriname gets 6.5% royalty. They have the same they have the same issue. Suriname collect tax.
Charles, I'm not hearing you.
Hold on. Suriname gets 6.5% royalty.
Euclid, you there?
I'm there.
You hearing me?
Are you hearing me? Hearing us?
I am not hearing you, Charles.
Okay, Dr. Rose, go on.
Mr. Ramjatan, you hearing me? Mr. Ramjatan, you hearing me?
Oh, maybe his computer is internet problem, Doc, in Guyana.
That's our problem here.
Just give him 1 minute to reconnect.
Okay. Yes, our audience, we are waiting to reconnect to Mr. Ramjatan, and we're having discussion on the oil contract. There are some in Guyana who think that we have the best contract. Others think we don't. But of course,
we got knocked off there just now.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
What I'm saying that our neighboring country, Suriname, getting 6.5%. The U.S. government getting almost 20% royalty. Brazil getting almost 10% royalty. Why is Guyana, why we have to sign with a 2% royalty knowing that we have the best oil, the least cost of production, and still we are getting no tax on the profit and so on? Suriname gets everything, Brazil gets everything. Why did we go in a contract like that?
Because when we asked the experts that there were, inclusive of some great economists out of England and the Rystad group, they said that we are about the middle as to the best deal and as to the worst deal. And because we wanted the monies and also those two other invaluable assets, geopolitics and the anti-fossil crusade, we decided to enter it. Okay. And if for any reason people feel that that was so bad a deal, well, fine. We have paid the price today. Well, not paid the price, seeing the benefit of it. The benefit being that we are collecting some monies, because as Exxon had indicated that if we did not want to, because we asked for 5% royalty, they just give us 2%. We then said, they said that they were going to, this is what they said to us. They are going to go because they got a 40 years exploration agreement. So if we don't want to sign the production agreement, they are going to go in the other areas of the Stabroek Block to see where they can find oil. And if in 2020, if a new government comes in, they will probably renegotiate with that new government and so on. It is what's hard politics, hard decision making. And we had to make the decision. If you wanted to go and say, well, all right, well, y'all go and search for the oil. And then they didn't sign up. And, you know, a lot of people would have said, but why did we so foolishly allow the oil in the ground and did not do nothing so that when 2020 come, we would have started producing, getting 607 million US, $1 billion for to 2022 and so on. Come on.
Okay, Mr.
Economic decisions are very hard to make, and we will always be bludgeoned by those who will want to say that y'all would have get a better deal if y'all work harder. Well, okay. Well, the PPP promised, there, just 1 minute. The PPP promised that they're going to do a better job. Well, at least it stands on our shoulder. It has the agreement. The people invest plenty money. They're not going to go away now. So let them renegotiate as they promised. Forget all them things what you talking about. So that I will be the proudest Guyanese.
Okay, will you support renegotiation of some part of the contract?
Yes, of course. I would want, because if the renegotiations is going to bring even further benefits to Guyana, support it. I have said that publicly.
Excellent.
But don't fool the people to win an elections, and when you get your backside in there, you don't do nothing, as Jagdev is now doing.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you a straight question, Mr. Ramjatan. Are you an attorney representing Exxon in Guyana, or your firm representing Exxon?
No, I am not.
And your firm is not?
I do not have a firm. I have an office space inside of Nigel Hughes' building.
Okay.
And,
so you're not an attorney representing the Exxon or its affiliate?
No, I am not. I'm not.
Okay. I want another question. I asked the mayors last week that we had the mayor of Georgetown and the mayor of Linden. Has Kemrad Ramjatan, as Minister of Public Security, taken any bribe as his official position as minister?
Absolutely not, and never will.
Do you have surrogates taking bribe on your behalf?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We'll never allow that.
I'm glad to hear that. Dr. Rose?
Okay. Mr. Ramjatan, a quick question for you here. It has been rumored and it has been said that President Granger did not honor the Cummingsburg Accord, which relegated the coalition partners to little or no power of authority. Did that happen?
That is crap. Absolute crap. President Granger, as I said, allowed us to do a number of things as a result of the fact that he had tremendous confidence in our abilities. And all our ministers were very, very qualified and bright people. Were either lawyers, engineers, quantity surveyors, businessmen, gemologists like Dr. Dominic Gaskin and so on. And so they knew their business. I was a prosecutor, lawyer, politician of long standing. No, it is a piece of public relations that has gotten into the heads of a lot of people in Guyana that he did that to us. That's not true. There were times when he would prefer another decision, but those were very rare. Once you give him the arguments, I remember that because that is how I knew Chedi Jagan used to operate. Chedi used to allow the arguments to flow, at least in the central committee room. I wasn't a member of his cabinet, but I understand that is how he used to do it. And he used to allow a whole range of policy on the issue. And then if the relevant minister feel that is going, big points go to the minister thinking so. And then if he feel that it's no, I think that's egregious, somehow I don't like, then he could overrule you, as every president ought to. And I hope that Irfan Ali is going to do more of that, especially against Jagdeo.
Do you think this government is doing a good job?
No, but that is what I'm saying. You know, look, this government has been placed in a magnificent financial position as a result of that oil agreement. And also because of that sugar agreement. Because of the politics, I come again, sugar, they couldn't make that decision. Their base support that down there, and they couldn't make it. We have made it easy for them. But more than that, the oil monies they got. But what are they doing with it? You got to distribute that money equitably. You don't go and to the fishermen and friends and family within that core group. Then you go with the flood relief and you give. I am begging them. Transparency is essential. Put on the website all the 5,000 people that got flood relief and how much money they got. They got some people at MMA scheme there that got $10 million flood relief. And some ain't got none. And if they did none, is people who never support the PPP. Put it out there transparently. I mean, so many people have been talking that there's need for more transparency in Guyana. Why you don't want it? Because they get all the checks inside of the Ministry of Agriculture. All the people that get 10 million, $75,000, this, that, just put it on the website so we're going to see fair and square who got even the COVID relief. You know how much people in got the COVID relief up to now, the $25,000? And that is what they're doing. They gone to the hinterland now and they want to buy the Amerindian vote, so they're going to give them a $200,000. They gone to Region 2 and instead of entrepreneurial monies, we're going to give. And when you ask them the names of those people and the structure of the program, there isn't. So how could you call that good government? And it is appalling. It's abominable when they spout so much transparency and just the names. You could get the clerks in the ministries to type in the name. Kemraj Ramjatan, he got $5 million for the rice flooding, the flood relief. This one got for 80,000. Rambridge from 43 Village got $25 million, and you put it there, whatever they got. I'm just making some assumptions. And those who didn't like the PPP, well, they got 0, 0, or you don't even have to put who ain't got. You just put who got. Even if it's $1 they got, you put it. Only who got. And we would know. Then you will go there and you see that this is it. That is how the transparency index has brought us down also by 2 percentage points again. Why are you not being transparent about the spending of your monies?
So what you're saying is that the PPP government is distributing taxpayers' money only to its supporters.
There will be other outside of its support base that it will grant to, but minuscule, de minimis. What you need now to know are the facts. Why is it you don't put it on the website? People who have collected and the quantum and their address and the telephone numbers. Do that. You Americans do it all the time. The Americans got some money the other day from Biden, whatever, 600 US or may know how much. That thing is known all the states.
Would you support at least a minimum of $500,000 paid out directly from the oil reserves, from the oil revenue to the public, at least the poorest people in the community at Christmas time?
I am very attracted to that cash transfer. It's called a direct cash transfer of about, yes. I was asked the question in another program of $1 million per annum. Your 500 is per annum.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I am supportive of that. Because let me tell you something. It's a lot of money. But there again, it must be transparently done. And so every Guyanese who are in existence here will be beneficiaries. Qatar got it. United Arab Emirates got it. Saudi Arabia got it. And they give about 25,000 US dollars and 5,000 US dollars and so on. And they got other benefits and so on. But of course, those are powerful countries right now with lots of history of oil. $500,000, that would be what? 2,500 US dollars? Why not? I am attracted to the thing because it makes everybody literally equal. And so it helps the poorer people with at least an income stream that can help them. And it's find attraction with me for even $1 million. But 500,000 certainly is a way to go. But let it be done very fair and square, and not in this discriminatory way that we see the flood relief and all the fisherman's money and so on being done.
In 2014, the PP implemented a program that paid parents for each child $10,000 per year. Today, that's $30,000 per child. APNU came in and removed that $10,000. Why?
I can't recall why APNU removed it or the basis for it, but the alternative that we produced was the school, the Granger's school bus arrangement, which made $10,000 was even better than the $10,000. We did not charge for children using the boats at the Berbice River. We ensured that we did not raise that Berbice River bridge thing and so on. And when you do the computation as to that alternative to the Granger arrangement, and it was called the Granger program, I forget what it was called, but that was equivalent to lots more than that $10,000. I am glad that today, having done away with the Granger program, which meant lots more for the people and the school children, that they brought it back to 30. I support Priya Manik Chan with the $30,000 there.
Someone from Rosignol has to cross the bridge to go to New Amsterdam. The fare is $400 and vice versa. They had boats running there from Rosignol to New Amsterdam under your government. But your government removed the boats before leaving office. Why?
We removed the boats from which
The
boats?
ferry, yes, from the ferry, from the Rosignol to New Amsterdam and New Amsterdam to Rosignol.
Well, I really can't remember right now the reason for it, but I think the school children were using those boats.
Yes, and senior citizens as well.
Yes.
And they were removed a year before you all left office.
Well, I can't understand at this stage recall the reasoning why it was removed. I really can't. If it was for the COVID reason or whatever, it could very well be the COVID.
Okay. Given all what you have said about the PEP, do you think the coalition could win the next election?
Yes, I believe so.
Explain.
I honestly believe so, because the stench of the PPP's governance is now coming around. Look what has happened. And I hope that you will carry on with a program about what Sue-gate is all about. And don't try to in any way, feel that it is not an important topical issue. Nobody, when you're spending $500 million behind Go Invest, Peter Ramsarupan, a former general secretary of the AFC, the deputy Sextus Edwards, nobody in government should do like what Jagdeo did there. It stinks to high heavens, calling people inside of his house to tell them, and the man is so, unworthy a character. And that just goes to show, because that is the tip of the iceberg. How many other things have not happened already there? As I have said, in the transparency of the monies being distributed for fishermen and all of that. If we were to get the actual truth, you would see how nasty it is. And Euclid, I went to quarantine, and I tell some of them boys, 45 boys, them from 45. And I say, but, me hear them pass this black lady somewhere there. Why did they pass her? Ramjatan, are you money there? If them buy one for pass the lady, let it pass the lady. They not support government. Them never support government. That is how we're going to get it. So I am pleading with the consciences of Guyanese, even PPP supporters. You do not do that. And more, because the human being is a reasonable creature, he's going to say, but that is wrong. And they themselves, just like what, people never believed that the coalition was going to win a 2050 election. But when they see now what was promised to them and no promise being executed, and the new AFC government left so much money for them to distribute equitably, and they're not doing that, they are going to kick them out. You take it from me. And even within the PPP now, big divisions. What Jagdeo got to be here for, doing all of this thing? Criticism as to why he is dealing with so many portfolio functions. That is an autocrat. And it is not good for this country, because we want the guardrails of democracy, economic and political democracy, to be spread around. It must be more diffuse, not in the arms of one man, and then he utilizes it in a press conference. That what I did is I tried to personalize the thing to the extent of getting things done. I named Jagdeo, I could get things done. That is bull, complete bull. You allow the institutions to evolve into better institutions so that we can get them working. And so whosoever go there, the principles and the actual guidelines and the code of conduct will govern the situation, not Jagdeo. And that is important.
Now, in the next election, I'm almost sure, the public is almost sure that you will be the prime ministerial candidate.
Not
As leader of-
necessarily. I might call it a day before that. I want to see the young people inside of my party grow up, as I said, intellectually, to deal with all these issues, like how I, Kamraj Ramjatan, could deal with it. And they got some bright, bright kids. I will be almost 65 at that time. I want to retire.
So you're saying you might quit before 2025.
Yes.
But let me assume that you will be the prime ministerial candidate. Name me 3 major changes you will make in this country.
Look, one of the very important change has to do with that set of recommendations that we got from, I noticed Gail Teixeira now trying to do something with it. Anti-corruption program. How to get within the public services as best as possible. We had set up a number of institutions. We had started training programs, and also to better the services like the police service and so on, police force, to ensure that the higher ranks train these guys not to take bribes and do all the mischief that sometimes they do. And we were getting around beautifully with it. It is all halted. And so that is one of the things, the anti-corruption crusade back again, from at a ministerial level, at a presidential level, you know, and that is an important area. The other area, I feel, is an equitable distribution of the oil monies to the Guyanese people. We must first of all consult with the stakeholders as to how we're going to do this distribution. As I said, that direct cash transfers is something that really appeals to me, and we can get it done because we know how much Guyanese there in Guyana and who are not entitled because they probably came in and from other countries and so on. Well, they will not be entitled. But an equitable distribution of the oil resources. And by that, I mean not necessarily the $500,000 you're talking about. But when we're doing a road, when we're doing roads, we are not going to go only in PPP areas and do the roads. We must have what is called, I think Ravi Dev had come up with a beautiful idea called ethnic audits. So that because we are so polarized at racial and ethnic grounds, we have those audits, and then we say, well, fine, if we're going to do Buxton, we must do Annandale too. You understand? And you proceed with that so that everybody will feel that they are beneficiaries and not, you know, sometimes it is the mere perceptions that get you thinking that this is not a good thing that the government is doing. But when the government say, well, fine, we have come up with this is the program, here the roads will be done at the back streets, and here the roads will be done at the back streets, $80 million, $79 million, or thereabouts, or whatever the contractor's price is, and you go and you do it. That is important for an ethnic society like Guyana. And the other thing that is education. Education. I want to see scholarships and so on being given, again, on a very equitable basis.
Will you make University of Guyana free?
I would certainly do.
Okay. My question before my colleague Charles comes in. You said the AFC is the Liberal Democratic Party, and that's based on its constitution. But is the PNC a Liberal Democratic Party? Is the PP a Liberal Democratic Party, do you think?
No, they don't have liberal democracy as part of their constitution. I think PNC's constitution has socialism, and the PPP's constitution has Marxism, Leninism, and communism. In the 2002 Congress at Port Morant, yours truly proposed amendments to the PPP constitution that we delete communism and Marxism, Leninism, and substitute, therefore, nationalist democratic. We didn't even want to go liberal democratic. That is, I didn't want to go because you're trying to soften up some of them and you say nationalist democratic, but you meant roughly the same thing. And I was blasted out of that Congress. People call me a rat and all kind of thing. Oh my goodness. And so, you know, it is not as if when I was there, I didn't try. I tried. I mean, even people like Ralph Ramkaran tell me why I want to go there. And I warned him that was not my only proposal, but my proposal that we must elect at a national conference the presidential candidate going into another elections and the leader of the party. Right now, they got a 15-man team that selected Irfan Ali as the presidential candidate. And Barrett go and shout them down because I knew Anil Nandalal wanted to run, Frank Anthony wanted to run, but Barrett Jagdeo, the autocrat, go and say, no, I want Irfan. I, in 2004, also proposed in a 4-proposal resolution to be put to the vote that indeed all these positions, like I now do it in the AFC, be voted for at a national congress. But no, if you see how they chop me up. And I said, this is expanding the democratic base of the party. I am certain that all these guys like Anil Nandalal and all of them, and even Ralph Ramkaran and Moses Nagamutu regretted what happened in the 2002 Congress at Port Morant.
One quick question before Charles comes in. Forbes Barnum, Desmond Hoyt, Chady Jagan. Well, I wouldn't count Sam Mines. I wouldn't count Jagan's wife. Bara Jagdeo, Ramutar, David Granger. But President Ali is young. You as leader of the AFC and leader of the opposition, Corbyn and whatever it is, none of your children follow in your footsteps. Why?
None of my children following my...
None of the children of the politicians who were presidents and opposition leaders following the footsteps to be involved in politics.
Well, I don't know why. I don't know why. But I have a young son called Divish that wants to be a politician. And he nearly won in the very first run at, at the AFC national elections. He was the 13th space. And I like the fact that he is interested. My father, as you know, Euclid, Tika Ramjatan, was very much involved in the PPP. My Aja was a staunch PPP man. And of course, I ended up in the Central Committee of the PPP, its highest forum after the conference. And I would like more people to be involved politically, young people. But I get the impression that they feel left out because a number of reasons, one of which they feel that they're not getting it too easily, and some of them feel that they're entitled, they ain't got to work hard and to get it. But I have tried as best to train my AFC youngsters. Work hard and you'll certainly be there. Do the necessary things. Read the necessary text on politics. Be up to date with the current affairs. Good readers make better leaders. And, you know, rather than the Twitter world and you go on Facebook and you write a little sentence and you feel that you're a PhD on the subject, you know. So I sometimes chastise them and I could tell them piece of my mind. I don't have anything to lose, really. And so, to your question, you'll have to ask the children why they did not.
Okay. Charles, over to you.
Well, there's not much time left. Mr. Ramjatan, the president announced the COI. Will the AFC participate in the COI for the election of 2020?
I have made a statement to that effect, that yes, at this stage, I personally, because we haven't had an NEC after that announcement by the president. So you normally will take these matters to the NEC and ask. But I personally feel that we should participate. And if called upon, I will certainly participate.
Do you have the SOPs or they're in Congress Place? Where's the coalition SOP?
I know you felt the hard ball for me, you know. The trouble is that I haven't up to now seen a large percentage, that final 13%. I did not get to see them, but the 87% I did see, myself and Dominic Gaskin and so on, we knew about those.
There are many Guyanese believe that David Granger was president, but Joe Harmon was running the show. Is there any truth in that?
Man, that is crap. How come on? You gonna tell me that? David Granger was totally in charge. Absolutely in charge. And of course, the way he managed his lifestyle of not micromanaging, as I said, of course. He had inside of Harmon a very good public relations person who immediately after cabinet meetings would do press conferences and very do them very well. But because he was the face there, a lot of people feel, probably you included, that he was not running. We all were doing our thing inside of that cabinet. And Harman respected that too. No, Granger was in charge, and when Granger was in Cuba, Moses Nagamutu was in charge. And literally for the various ministries, we were all respectively in charge.
I know we're running out of time, but one last question before I actually give a closing statement. Before the 2020 election, you had an agreement with APNU AFC was never made public when you were supposed to be the Prime Minister candidate. Is there anything you want to tell the population about that agreement that was not made public and why it was not made public?
Well, the parties agreed that it should not be made public. You can have confidentiality in arrangements. The basic terms were made public, that we had dropped from 12 parliamentary seats to 9. The same principles governed it and so on, and we made that. AFC will name the prime ministerial candidate. I was named, and so on. But for reasons why we did not want it, is because we both agreed that leave it as it is. It is a contract between two political parties, and for the necessities of the time and the fact that we did not want, and we probably foresee that a lot of people are going to be critical of certain terms and so on, you make it confidential. It is something that happens in business. It's something that happens in political parties.
What someone reported leak is that had you become Prime Minister and President Granger had met his demise, that you will not have been ascended to the presidency. Was that part of the agreement?
No, that was not part of the agreement as far as I know.
Okay.
That I would automatically, under the Constitution, become the president.
But then you would have stepped down and give way to the APNU?
Well, we would have had to work that one out. Just like how, we had to work out inside of the PPP when Dr. Jagan died and Sam Hines became the president. They work it out, and then Janet Jagan became the president.
Okay. Mr. Ramjitan,
or whatever was the arrangement then.
We have really come to the end. It was a great discussion tonight. Is there anything you want to say in closing?
Thanks very much for allowing me, Charles and Euclid, this kind of discussion with you. I thought it went very, very well, and I'm glad that you chose a topic as to the AFC for tonight's program. This kind of discussion is very useful in liberal democratic countries, and I want to believe that Guyana is a democratic country and liberal too. It is not Marxist, it's not communist, although I think Jagdeo wants to put it there. But it is programs like these, calling out leaders, letting them explain themselves. And I can only plead with my other leaders, whether in the PNC or the PPP, and the AFC also, to make sure that they could come out and answer questions that like what you have asked. And it will be all the more clearer for the electorate and the population at large to understand where we are going. Today, and I want to end with this statement, it is not information is power. It's clarity that is power. And the clearer that we political leaders can make ourselves in programs like these, the better for the country. Thank you, and a very good night.
Thank you. Dr. Rose, anything in closing quickly?
Yes, I want to still call on the government to pressure those internet cable providers to provide better service to the people. You cannot call anyone without being interrupted 4, 5, 6 times within a conversation that lasts 5 minutes. I'm also calling on the government to increase the retirement age from 55 to 62, minimum, to follow the rest of the Caribbean countries. We're the only country to retire people at 55 in this day and age within CARICOM. And we're also calling on the government to increase the salaries of teachers, nurses, police officers, and the public servants to at least starting at $150,000 a month.
Yeah.
Cost of living has gone too high for $65,000, $75,000. These people are qualified people. That's why our youths are drifting away to the Caribbean and to the United States. Nurses, teachers, they're leaving. You have to increase the salaries and respect their position. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rose. Thank you, Mr. Ramjitan, and thank you, our viewers and to our sponsors. Take care. God bless our great country of Guyana.